If you find yourself staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, your brain is currently prioritizing survival over rest. You know the exact feeling. You drag yourself through the day, completely exhausted, but the very second your head hits the pillow, your heart rate spikes and your mind kicks into high gear. The driver behind that sudden spike is cortisol. We usually label it the stress hormone, but biologically, it functions as a pure alertness signal. During the day, that signal is incredibly useful. It keeps your brain vigilant, responsive, and ready to handle potential threats in your environment. Look at this graph tracking a 24-hour cycle. A healthy cortisol curve drops off in the evening, but if that line stays elevated at night, your brain interprets your dark bedroom as an active threat environment, completely blocking the deep recovery states your body needs. This state of wakefulness persists because the brain is locked in a defensive posture, refusing to power down until it receives evidence that the immediate environment is secure. The most common way we accidentally signal danger to our brains is by staring at a glaring phone screen in a pitch-black room, hoping it will somehow make us tired. Your biology doesn't understand bedtime, and it doesn't read the clock on the wall. It relies entirely on light intake to regulate your sleep and alertness cycles, an internal clock known as the circadian rhythm. This biological flowchart shows the problem with artificial light. On the left, a natural sunset triggers the release of melatonin, the hormone that promotes sleep. But on the right, the bright blue light from overhead lamps and digital screens deceives your hypothalamus into thinking it is still the middle of the day. Because your brain thinks the sun is still up, it halts melatonin release entirely and keeps cortisol pumping through your system to maintain your daytime alertness. Fixing this requires a deliberate behavioral shift about 90 minutes before you want to sleep. Turn off the harsh overhead lights, drop your screen brightness, and switch to warm, dim lamps. Controlling the lighting in your home serves a direct biological function. Darkness triggers the safety sequence required to initiate sleep. Even in a perfectly dark room, you might find yourself running through unwritten emails or replaying a past conversation on an aggressive, endless loop. Your brain operates as a relentless prediction machine. If you have unfinished tasks or lingering worries, it keeps those specific issues active in working memory to anticipate and solve them. From an evolutionary standpoint, uncertainty is dangerous. To your nervous system, an unresolved mental loop is indistinguishable from an impending physical threat that might require you to take action at any moment. You can break that loop with 2 minutes and a piece of paper. Before you get into bed, write down the main tasks and concerns still circulating in your mind. This specific strategy is called cognitive offloading. By physically externalizing those thoughts, you remove the burden of holding the information internally and prove to your brain that the problem is stored securely. The brain relaxes the exact moment it knows nothing important will be forgotten. Emptying your mind onto paper neutralizes the false survival threat and immediately quiets your biological alarm system. If you skip those steps, you end up lying there with a stiff body and shallow breaths, feeling physically wired for a fight. Your body is locked in a sympathetic nervous state. Look at this glowing pathway connecting the brainstem to the heart and lungs. This is the vagus nerve. It acts as a manual override switch to pull your body out of fight or flight and into parasympathetic activity, the state associated with rest and recovery. You can trigger that nerve mechanically. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds, and then exhale gently for 6 seconds. Extending that exhale is the critical trigger. It stimulates parasympathetic dominance, which physically drops your heart rate, softens muscle tension, and forces cortisol to decline in just a few minutes. By slowing your breath, you give your brain the final piece of physical proof it needs to confirm the immediate environment is truly safe enough to power down. Reliable rest comes when the brain finally receives the signals it needs to stop active protection. The alertness keeping you awake is a highly effective survival mechanism. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is just operating in the wrong context.
Dimming the light, offloading your thoughts, and slowing your breath. Together, these 3 signals form the trifecta that finally cuts the cortisol alertness signal. Once those signals consistently align, deep, unbroken sleep follows naturally because your biology finally recognizes true safety. Implement these 3 steps tonight. Send your brain the right signals. Stop fighting your biology and finally surrender to the rest you've already earned. Try it and see how quickly your body powers down.